Welcome to another episode of the Pop Culture Galaxy podcast. This is actually episode 3. We're on a roll. We're getting there. I'm Mark Bridge, and I'm here with Zach Worsner.
That's me.
Right. So before we get started, we didn't record over the Thanksgiving. So I guess we could catch up. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Ate some food. Got into some fights with the family. No, they were good. I behaved myself.
Right. Yeah, I had family get together as well. My brother and my sister surprised my mom. Like, my sister came from Canada, my brother came from North Carolina to surprise my mom. It was actually like her belated birthday. So we surprised her, and it served as a whole Thanksgiving get together, as as well as a belated birthday present.
Nice.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. I had lots of food. Can't go without some good food.
Had the mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Had the turnips.
Right.
Turkey. All that.
All right, so I guess we'll jump straight into our movie news. Now, before I start, I gotta say, if I was a betting man, I would have lost hard for this month. I could have sworn that they'll drop a Avengers 4 trailer by the end of this month. Now, we're recording this on the 30th, and unless the trailer drops after we recorded, during recording, I would have lost that bet, man. Like, no Avengers 4 trailer. I could have sworn one was coming because I felt it in the air. I felt it in my bones that a trailer was coming. And lo and behold, no trailer. Especially that the Russo brothers had like a Q&A screening with Collider on Wednesday. Maybe that the audience would get treated to a Avengers 4 trailer, and then we get treated like a couple of minutes later or something like that. But nothing. Like, what's going on, Zach?
They don't have to. They don't have to release a title until like the week it comes out.
That's the thing. It's almost getting. I mean, it's cool, but it's almost getting annoying. Like, we're not gonna tell the title of this movie. We're not gonna show you a trailer.
They're preserving that moment. We're in a pop culture moment where, people like us are, we know that everything's going to get undone one way or another in Avengers 4.
Right.
We don't know what the cost will be, but, we know that Spider-Man's going to feel better.
Yeah. So
he hasn't been feeling so good, but he's got to feel better. He's got his new movie in the works already.
That's the tricky part, especially with Sony in charge of their own marketing. They don't care what Disney's doing. It's like, we got a movie to sell, damn it.
Yeah. So there's that. But then, for regular folks who don't follow the trades and who aren't on, these websites every day, they don't know. They don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And even we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or if we do think we know, at least we don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But they don't know at all. And Marvel is smart to preserve this moment for as long as they can, where, everyone's dead and we don't know what's going to happen.
Yep. And speaking of what we don't know what's going to happen, a lot of people keep assuming, especially with Chris Evans sending out that tweet about how he's, it was a journey. It was a good end to a journey, whatever. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing here, but a lot of people read into his tweet that he was done with Captain America. And the Russo brothers, I think it was Anthony who did an interview with the Associated Press, pretty much came out and said Chris Evans is not done with Cap, and he kind of gave like a statement to why Chris may have sent that tweet out, saying that it was something that was, I guess more important to him. His feelings was, just the way how he was shooting it, but because the reason why he sent it is because he's not done with Captain America yet, and he's not going to elaborate on it. He's not going to explain, but we'll find out. Um, I remember I talked to you. I think I talked to you about what my theory is on what's going to happen with uh, Cap at the end. A lot of people assume he's going to die. That's the big prevailing theory, that he's going to die. I think that's too simple. It's kind of like when everybody thought Iron Man was gonna die in Infinity War, and the movie even teased that with him getting stabbed in the chest or the stomach, wherever he got stabbed. And it was like, oh yep, that's it, he's done. And then lo and behold, it wasn't. People are assuming, yep, Cap will definitely sort of die a hero's death at the end of this. But I remember telling you that my theory actually comes from the Ultimate Comics version of it, where Captain America became the president of the United States. I have a feeling that's where they're going with this. What do you think of? What do you think of pretty much when you hear Anthony Russo say he's not done with Cap? Like, what do you think?
Well, I think, of course, he's not done. I mean, I remember when that tweet came out, that newsworthy tweet, which wasn't really newsworthy.
Right.
It was just him. Like, if you look at the words, he's just talking about the end of Avengers 4.
Mm.
He's never like, finally, I'm done as Captain America.
Yeah. Yep.
Everyone's been saying, Kevin Feige's been saying that Avengers 4 is the end for now.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously the MCU is not over. There's going to be Spider-Man like a month later,
Mm-hmm.
2 months later. But he also said that you can see Avengers 4 as the culmination of everything.
Right.
If Avengers 3, because they're parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, Avengers 3 and 4 are parts 1 and 2. And 4 will be seen as the end of, if phase 1, 2, and 3, it's like chapter 1.
Right.
So whatever happens afterwards, you can look at Iron Man through Infinity War 2 as the complete set.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Evans has been a huge part of that since Captain America: The First Avenger, since his shield popped up in Iron Man.
Yeah.
And he tweeted about that. He didn't tweet about this is the end of Captain America, but it's much more newsworthy if you spin it that way.
Yeah.
And he had also said that he would be done, but that was pretty openly, I think, just a play to get more money in contract negotiations.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Even though I think those days of hardballing with Disney/Marvel, I'm not gonna say Disney on the whole, because I'm sure like other companies have other divisions in Disney have like different philosophies in terms of signing artists and whatever. But I feel like since Marvel Studios have separated themselves from Marvel and just Kevin Feige's answering directly to Bob, I feel, or Alan Horn, and then Bob, I feel like all the troubles in terms of like getting this person to sign, or let's do a stalling tactic to get more money, it's pretty much done, because they realized how valuable the Marvel properties are, and it depending on what film franchise, because the cool thing about the Marvel films is that each film is its own franchise. Iron Man is his own franchise. Captain America is his own franchise. Guardians is his own franchise. Avengers is his own franchise. So it's franchise within franchise. So they can base an actors or directors or whoever pay scale based on the value of that particular franchise. And apart from the James Gunn situation, I don't see much drama coming from these people since they kind of got away from Ike. So I doubt the whole Chris Evans, like, you know what, let me send this tweet out so I can get more money for the next one. I'm sure they worked all of that detail out before Avengers 4 was complete, especially when they had plans post Avengers. They had to work that out with Chris and whoever they're gonna have it going forward. Now, another thing I want to actually talk about too is another theory. Well, it's not really a theory. It's more like an observation. Now, we've looked at the past MCU films, including Avengers, and one thing that we've seen is, even though they've sort of tried to remain grounded in reality, the more phases and the more films, they kind of push the limits on all the out there stuff that maybe audience would have been turned off like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but I think they're more prepared for. And I have a feeling, because a lot of people are kind of wondering what could Avengers 4 be, right? I think Avengers 4 will be like the balls to the walls, you're a comic book hardcore sweaty nerd, cosmic stuff, right? They're like, okay, you guys have been prepared for this for 10 years. We're not sugarcoating anything. So you're going to maybe get introduced to the Eternals, which I know they have plans for the movies. Eternity, a bunch of sort of out there characters. I don't think Thanos will be the main villain of this. He'll be in it, but I don't think he's the main villain. And the reason I'm saying this is that I'm trying to analyze what Kevin and all the rest who was talking or who say this is kind of like the closing of the chapter and an opening of a new one, and how would that explain sort of Guardians coming back, Spider-Man coming back, Loki getting his own show, Scarlet Witch getting her own show. All these characters got dusted, and one of my theories, even though it might come off as a cheap trick, but depending on how they do it, it could possibly be as emotional and impactful, is they literally reboot the universe, but not like a ground up where it's like starting from scratch. But when I say reboot, I mean like the multiverse theory, where it's like they realize that this reality is crap. This reality is like whatever Thanos did destroyed or is destroying the reality, and they literally have to create a new reality for people to survive, and basically play God and start it off brand new. So maybe the Captain America you see in the next movie, even though it's Chris Evans, it's not the same Cap that you see in the previous. And the Spider-Man is not the same Spider-Man, and it's maybe some things carry over because a lot of like Doctor Strange has a post-credit scene with what's his name,
Thor.
No, freaking guy,
Baron Mordo.
Yes, that guy.
Chewie.
Yeah. He has a post-credit scene that has to pay off in his next movie. So I'm seeing that they could possibly reboot the entire MCU, but use a story point to do that. Like, do you think I'm off base with that? You think they're ready to do something as drastic as that?
I don't think that's off base, but I think that that's there in case of emergency.
Okay.
In case of Batman v Superman, Justice League, hit this button.
Right.
I think that audiences are so invested in this universe that they're so invested that they'll see a reboot as a betrayal.
Right.
As, oh, I watched all this for nothing. When we do that, even if it's like a Mortal Kombat or Star Trek kind of reboot, where it's a reboot, but the reboot itself is in continuity.
Right.
I think that might be too comic booky for maybe even for someone like me.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, is like it would have to be, if they're planning to do something that drastic, it would have to be something really, really careful, really emotional, where you feel the loss of the previous characters from the previous phases, even though you're starting with the same characters going forward, like you still feel that loss, but you feel that new beginning. And that will definitely be a challenge, and that's because of that challenge. Maybe my theory's wrong, but that would explain a lot of this whole. We're moving on to, why Spider-Man is alive, why the Guardians is still alive, why what's his name, Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury, is in Far From Home. You know what I mean? It's like, didn't you guys get dusted?
Yeah, I mean, there's something about like the soul realm
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something where they're not dead but transported,
right.
which I guess is still better than what was it, Captain America or Batman got shot by like a bullet that transported them into another dimension or
Yeah,
something.
that was funny, right? The same. I think they died around the same time, and they came back around for the same kind of reason. Like they got trapped through time. They were going through time.
Mm.
That was weird.
Really, I could see like an alternate universe pseudo reboot, not as a way to begin with characters, but a way to write out characters.
Okay.
If they say we want to kill off this person or this person's done with the movie,
Mm,
they'll, but maybe want to leave it open for them to return.
right.
They multiverse them.
Yeah.
Say you're gone. You're in this universe. Have a Hugh Jackman cameo, and he's like, "You're an X-Man now," or something. As opposed to rebooting the whole the whole MCU. I feel like that is its own Earth. What's the number? Do we
uh,
know what number it is?
there's Earth 616 and 1609 or something like that. 1609 or something like that is the ultimate. The main Marvel universe is 616. Even though that's ever since Secret Wars, all of that's gone. It's just one.
Right, because yeah, and I think we all, if they once they introduce multiverse stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that will be their ticket to getting anyone from any universe into the MCU.
Pretty much,
The
yeah.
way, see, even I know that the whole destroying the Ultimates universe, except for Miles Morales and his family.
Yep. And then, add into that, like Anthony, the Russos pretty much says, they keep saying, they said it before, and they said it again recently. When they were asked what movie would bring you back to do a MCU movie, because I think they're probably taking a break after Avengers 4. It says Secret Wars, man. When they're ready to do Secret Wars, we're back. So the mere fact that they said that, no, it could be just them trying to wish this property in existence, but they may be coming off. I mean, they've been around the MCU architects for years. You know what I mean? So I'm sure, they didn't just come up with this baseless thing about Secret Wars. Like, maybe that's something in the works, because Secret Wars, especially because you could be going off of the Jonathan Hickman version or the version that came out in '84, where all the heroes come together. But the Hickman version dealt more with multiverses.
The Secret Wars is the one where is that the one with Doctor Doom?
Both of them had Doctor Doom.
Oh, is it Nick Fury sending them on stuff? Is it Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2?
I never played that game, so I'm not sure. So okay, the '84 version is they went to another planet, where all the heroes and all the villains and the Beyonder basically pit them against each other. Said whoever wins the ultimate power. And Doctor Doom at the end of that one basically says, "I'm not playing the game. I'm going straight at the Beyonder to take his power." Right?
Okay, so that's different. Yeah.
Secret Wars, the Hickman version that came out in 2015, is um, uh, basically the multiverse was being destroyed, and Doctor Doom, in order to save the world, took pieces from different realities, pieces of planets from different realities, and smushed them together, and created a whole new reality where he's king, or god of that world. And you still had a bunch of heroes and a bunch of villains, but it's like alternate versions of the characters, with only some characters remaining that remember them stuff because they escaped the real reality, so they remember everything. So they have never made it clear which version of Secret Wars they wanted to make, so that's the only thing. But I'm sure there's a version of Secret Wars that is out there that they want to make and probably will come to fruition. But yeah, that's just my crackpot theory. We don't know yet. We gotta wait till Avengers 4. Um, Hopefully a trailer. I know Kevin Feige said the trailer is gonna come before the year's done, so we got one more month. So within the next 30 days, we'll definitely see another trailer. Hopefully sooner than later, because I'm pretty excited.
I'm so excited, but I don't even need a trailer. We don't need a trailer. We're already gonna
Yeah,
see it. We
we
know.
don't. But I'm like this guy who just consumes everything. Like I want it. Give me a piece. I don't care. Give me a taste. I feel it
Yeah.
in my bones. All right. So now we can move on to our second movie topic. This trailer, The Lion King, dropped on Thanksgiving. I actually wanted to do a live reaction, but it was like I was with family. I couldn't do anything. Couldn't get away, which sucks. But it's like Disney didn't give a shit. Oh, it's Thanksgiving. I'm dropping a Lion King trailer. Um, but it was a surprise, but a very welcome one. I'll tell you this: in movie came out in '94. First time I saw it was on videotape. I didn't go to the movie theaters because I was in Jamaica at the time, and we never really went to the theaters. We had to wait till the movie came out on VHS, and I remember renting this movie. And this was the first film. Like I put the tape in, watched it. After it was done, I stopped it. Remember, it's tape. I know. People are saying, "What is that?" I rewound the video and watched it again. That was the first movie I ever did that with, and it came out when I was 13. So I was a kid, but I wasn't like a young. I was my teenage years, but still as a teenager, that movie got me so much that it impacted me a lot. Like I kept watching that movie. I think it was one of my favorite Disney animated movies. So when Disney's remaking a bunch of their animated stuff into live action, some hit or misses, but Jon Favreau, who had a hit with Jungle Book, is returning for The Lion King. And to me, I made a prediction about one of the MCU films, which was Black Panther, before Civil War came out. But I was like, I bet you Black Panther is going to be a huge hit, not because like it's this great character or great setting, even though it has that, but because of what it represented. It was a character. It was an African, a black superhero, but it's a black superhero that's not existing in like the hood or anything. He's from an African nation that's technologically advanced. It's something that you've never seen before. Even though like when you watch the movie, you've seen better special effects in other films, but it's what Black Panther represented that I kind of knew from years before Black Panther came out that it's going to be something big. You know what I mean? I didn't know that it would be that big, but I felt like it was going to be a cultural impact. And I'm making this prediction again with the Lion King remake. That movie is feeding off so much nostalgia. So much. Especially with the trailer. The trailer and the music and everything. And everybody's like, oh my God, I'm crying right here. It's my childhood. That this movie is poised to make close to 2 billion, if not 2 billion at the box office. This is actually going to be the movie that challenges Avengers 4. But like it's so much nostalgia, and they're bringing back James Earl Jones. Like you can't replace James Earl Jones as Mufasa. Even though it's weird that you have James Earl Jones and not Jeremy Irons. You should have brought him back too, but I probably would have been too much. But yeah, I watched the trailer and I was like, yes, this is. I want this. I need this. What did you think when you saw the trailer?
I thought it looked kind of janky.
Woo!
I thought the faces didn't look good.
Okay.
Maybe it's not done yet. When does it come out?
May 19th, I believe.
All right, so they've got some time to polish it up still. But when I saw it, I was like, huh, doesn't look that good. Like
Well, it looks too CG
Yeah,
fest.
it's kind of you're not doing a live action remake of The Lion King. You're doing a CGI remake of the
You,
Lion King.
you know what they're doing? They're doing a remaster. You know, video game terms. It's just like
Yeah.
an HD remaster. So new texture
Uh,
pack. They added a texture pack.
and it's like here's the exact same shot that you know, except the character's less expressive because you were trying to make him look like a real
Yeah.
lion.
I mean, I guess that's the biggest drawback to this remake is the animated film could bring on those expressions. The big eye, you know, Disney kind of, other than anime, kind of had the whole big eye effect because they wanted to show emotions. But but they pretty much can't really do it because they trying to go with a photoreal look. But yeah, what were you saying?
Like, and the way it looks, I'm kind of like I would like this better if it were a silent movie, if they were actually like being animals.
Animals.
Um, they who's playing Simba now?
Donald Glover.
Okay. I mean that's good.
Hmm.
It was always weird when he's a little black cub who grows up to be Matthew Broderick,
Yeah. Well,
the
actually,
whitest guy.
in the animated movie, he was a little white cub. It was Jonathan Taylor Thomas who did the voice
Really?
of Simba when he was a kid.
I thought it was a young black actor.
Nah,
That's
Jonathan,
crazy.
because it was the height. It was the he was the one who was selling that movie because it was the height of
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement, and you know they were, you know, it was like kid actors were a thing. You know, Home Alone's with Macaulay Culkin. So Jonathan was the new one, new kid, the new whiz kid that's gonna take over.
Well, that's fine. Maybe James Earl Jones adopted him.
Maybe.
It's like a Charlie's Angels Bosley situation.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, it was Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I remember him, like I was being jealous of him because like he's a kid and he's being a star. And I was like, I want that life. But
but I'm excited because it's The Lion King. Although I actually haven't seen any of the live action Disney remakes. I
oh,
haven't seen any of them.
funny. I was gonna ask because you were talking about how the special effects kind of was all for you. I was wondering, did you see Jungle Book? What
I
did you think of that special effects? Because they're
I
you.
didn't see the Jungle Book, but I did see the trailer for the new Mowgli Legend of the Jungle,
Yeah.
and I think that looked much better than what we saw in the trailer for The Lion King.
Mm. Well,
Uh, you
if
know, I don't. It doesn't look like they have the facial motion capture that Andy Serkis does in
yeah.
his movie.
Oh, I think what Andy is doing for Jungle Book, because I saw some behind the scenes stuff, is he's incorporating the actor's face into the actual animal he or she's portraying. Um,
Yep.
uh, John Favreau, he didn't do that with Jungle Book. You know, even though he had huge stars in his movie as well. Um, it was just pretty much an animal face, and they didn't. I don't think. Yeah, he didn't do motion capture to the point where he's blending faces. I think that's a Andy Serkis thing because you know he's, you know, been a part of the whole motion capture community since 2000, since
Yep.
'99. You know when they started filming Lord of the Rings. So 20 years in this business, he's pioneered that whole thing. So he wanted to give actors that platform as well. It's like, okay, you're getting hired. I want to see what you've brought to the table with your face acting as well. So that's something he definitely did with his movie. While John Favreau, he that's the thing. I actually want you to see because I actually loved Jungle Book, and you know obviously he's gonna do the same thing, um, the same kind of techniques he did with Jungle Book. He's bringing to this movie. So I'm curious if you watch Jungle Book, what do you think of it? If you think the special effects was janky because you know, like it could be a sense. I mean, it's subjective. I thought it looked amazing. Yes, it looked weird because you're not seeing the facial expressions you're used to, especially if you watch the animated movies so many damn times. Um, you know, it looks weird, but it manages to sort of, especially the trailer that they showed, which is designed directly to bring out that nostalgia in you. I think it did that. For me, it transcended the whole. Oh yeah, they looked photoreal. It doesn't have the same facial expression, and that might be a
Well,
challenge.
if they had looked photoreal, at least.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, photoreal in the sense of they're not
It was a
big
photoreal
eyes.
style,
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah.
think that they were there.
That's going to be a challenge for this movie, definitely. Because I didn't like Beauty and the Beast. That's another animated movie I loved as a kid. Like the design of it, the animation, the fluidity of the animation, the Beast. Like the Beast was so badass to me. Like yeah, I almost watched it every time I did a rewatch just for the Beast because he was so badass and the way he was designed and the way he moved and the way he acted. And then when you watch the live action movie, he's so stilted, so stiff. So it's just there's not enough fluidity because it's live action. You can't have the same kind of fluidity that you get from animation in live action. So it felt a little bit stilted. It just felt a little, didn't give me that same oomph. So this could be a challenge for the Lion King. Um, but because you're dealing with completely CG characters, you may be able to pull off that stuff. It might veer close to the animated film than Beauty and Beast did because you had so much live action elements to it and less CG stuff. So I'm crossing my fingers. The trailer got me. Maybe if you see it or this could be your first live
Yeah,
action
I
movie.
have nothing against the live action remakes. I just haven't seen
Yeah.
any, you know.
I mean,
Like I saw Christopher Robin, but that's not a remake,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
sequel.
yeah,
Um yeah, I had wanted to see a bunch of I went to go see Beauty and the Beast in the movies,
right.
but it was sold out.
Okay.
And so I saw something else.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember what, but there's no animosity.
Yeah.
It's just I just haven't seen any.
Well, you have three chances next year with Dumbo, Aladdin, and Lion King. Uh,
Yeah.
like Aladdin, oh my god, even that I'm super excited for. Disney. They call it at the time the Disney Renaissance, where they were every 2 years or every year. Every 2 years they were coming out with these great animated films. You know, Little
Little
Mermaid.
Mermaid.
Um, it was Little Mermaid, then Beauty and the Beast, then Aladdin, um, Lion King. Then they started to fall off. I think the one after Lion King was what? It was Hercules?
The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Hunchback came out in 97. But when did Hercules come out?
I feel like that was 98.
Okay, yeah, so it was Hunchback. I think Hunchback is when they started to fall. And then Hercules, and then Treasure Planet. Even though I love Treasure Planet.
Yeah, but that was a bomb.
Yes. um, but yeah, we're getting sort of a resurgence, a little bit taste of the Renaissance they brought back. Oh yeah, Mulan. I forgot. When did Mulan come out? I think that was a '98 film as well, isn't it?
Yes, because that came out at around the same time as the X Files movie. I remember me and my dad went to go see the X Files,
Uh-huh.
and my mom and my brother went to go see Mulan.
um, but yeah, I can't wait to see what they do with the movie. Love the trailer. You have anything else before we move on to some TV news?
Um, no, I just sound. I don't. I'm not cynical on The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting for it to sell me on something more than nostalgia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially with Jon Favreau, what he did with Jungle Book. Most of the other remakes they kind of kept close to the script of the original, and just deviated slightly here and there. But I think Jungle Book added more to the material than the original animated did. Because I actually watched once original Jungle Book. I wasn't a big fan. It was like it was okay. But granted, I did see it later in life. When all the hype was dead. And I think I probably saw it after the live action movie, so it was nothing compared to it. I was like, yeah, it's crap. Yeah, so even though you can't, all film is subjective, but Lion King is the closest to perfection that you can probably get with a film. I don't know how you're gonna improve on that without ruining it. Ruining it. So let's see. Crossing fingers. Jon Favreau is a good director. Elf, Iron Man, maybe not Iron Man 2. Chef was good. So he's a good director. All right, so let's move on to some TV news. Zach, what's going on with Netflix? What's going on with Netflix?
That's all my fault. It's my fault.
What's going on with Netflix and what's going on with Marvel?
They're very mad.
It has to be, right? It has to be a drama that's brewing, right?
Yeah, they're mad at the Disney Plus. They're mad at Disney Plus.
Yeah, because Disney, other than say like an Amazon Prime or Hulu or YouTube, they stopped their whole premium shit. Now they're putting everything in the forefront with just ads. Nothing has really competed with Netflix on any level, and I think Disney will probably be the one to really give them a run for their money with their library plus Fox's library, and then their original movies, TV shows that they're coming out with. I think Netflix. This is a sign that Netflix feels that threat. Because you could say, all right, they canceled Luke Cage and Iron Fist especially Iron Fist, because Iron Fist, when it comes to the critics and the audiences, they didn't really love it. Even though season 2 was an improvement, people complain about the second half of Luke Cage in the first season. It was a hit and miss with who loved or hated the second season. I actually loved the second season, but I can understand those cancellations. But then they said, out of all the Netflix series that we thought were safe, we thought they'd probably get rid of Jessica Jones. Maybe they'll keep Punisher because Punisher was a good show, and I'm sure like a lot of it was great with the critics and great with the viewers. Everyone who saw Punisher loved it. I couldn't really see any people who hated the Punisher that much, except maybe someone who's overly sensitive to violence or the whole talk about gun control. Maybe those guys are not into that stuff. But Punisher did well. But out of all the shows that we thought were safe, it was like they'll probably get rid of all the shows and just keep Daredevil. Nope. They canceled Daredevil. How is that possible? Now we heard that according to Nielsen, even though it's not as accurate because they're trying to measure streaming stuff now, because especially with Netflix, they don't give away their streaming data. According to Nielsen, the viewers of the first week or the first 3 days of season 3 fell off half than the people who watched the second season in the first 3 days or first week. So that could be, but I don't buy it. Number one, because I don't think they can. Nielsen is so outdated with their own television stuff. Like, I don't think they're even equipped.
Nielsen is struggling to be relevant.
Yeah,
but they have nothing to stand on in this world of streaming.
Yeah.
Because there's no commercials. Nielsen never tracked who watches what show.
Right.
They only ever tracked who watched the commercials of what show.
Right.
So I don't care what they have to say. Even if the numbers are accurate, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
They call it a post-ratings world because we don't care what Nielsen says.
Yeah. And it's...
But that being said, they did say, so if we're going to listen to what they said, then yeah, all of the Marvel Netflix shows have been going down with very few exceptions, like The Punisher.
Right.
And we were talking before in the movie news about these actors being the stars of their own franchise,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of Captain America being its own franchise, of Iron Man being its own franchise, of
Yeah.
Thor being its own franchise. Unfortunately, based on those numbers of each season going down, with the exception of The Punisher, um, these Marvel Netflix shows are not their own franchise.
Right.
They are Marvel Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in fact, part of the, not just because he's much more popular, the Punisher,
Mm-hmm.
but because he distanced himself, the character, that show distanced itself so much from the Defenders.
Mm-hmm.
That could even be part of why it was so successful,
Right.
uh,
Right. Right.
because it wasn't seen as the next Marvel Netflix show. It was, this is the Punisher show.
Yep.
Whereas Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, even though they were very different from one another,
Mm-hmm.
audiences saw them as the next season of Marvel Netflix.
Mm. Yep. Yep. So, I mean, I'm still holding to it's a beef. It's a whole fight between Marvel, Disney, and Netflix. But I can't be 100%. What's gonna make me 100% is if they cancel Punisher. But Punisher season 2 is coming out, so they can't cancel it. They shot it already. They didn't mention anything about Jessica Jones because I think they were either just is Jessica Jones being shot right now or
I think they're shooting it now.
yeah, so they can't say anything about those two shows.
We'll see what happens like the month after they come out.
Yeah, but it's just weird to me in that when the whole deal with Netflix and Marvel was struck, it was like, oh, it's like a match made in heaven. You get to do these really cool shows, do things that you can't normally do in the MCU. And it's I think it was at the time the biggest production in New York. Even though it doesn't really show, but it's expensive to shoot in New York, and you're doing 5 shows in New York, so it's one of those. It was unprecedented sort of like deals going in. But it's just over the years, Iron Fist didn't do well because I think they commissioned a lot of money that went into doing these shows. I think we got a second season of Daredevil before we got Iron Fist, so that kind of threw everything for a loop, and Iron Fist kept getting pushed back in a creative team and money wise, and then they added Punisher, so it's like all these brand new shows happened, so you couldn't get the sort of phase 1 phase 2 plan that their bigger brother had. With more money being put to these projects, it's less money being put to each season. Even though I think season 2, I love season 2 of Daredevil. I think season 2 is the best season, even though maybe not a lot of people would agree with me. They probably say 1 or 3.
I haven't seen 3 yet. I'm the reason why the show got canceled. I haven't watched Iron Fist.
Yeah, you probably gave up on the whole Netflix Marvel stuff.
I watched The Punisher, and I watched The Defenders because I had to write some stories on it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think The Hand were a bad call. They're like, we got this like realistic street level hero, and we're all we're defending the streets of New York.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have them fight ninjas.
You know what?
Bad call.
I don't think it was a bad call. I think it was a bad.
Yeah, at the very least, I think it was poorly executed.
Yeah, it's because the thing is, you have to have enemies that would bring 4 of the baddest heroes in New York City together, right? Iron
They should have gotten a movie villain.
Right. Yeah.
Get Sam Rockwell in there.
Yeah. I mean, his tech was in season 1 of Luke Cage. Why not?
Isn't like. Oh yeah, I watched the first 4 episodes, but then fell off.
Yeah, it was the hammer tech was in Luke Cage.
Weirdly, now that they're done, now I feel more compelled to go back and watch what I missed.
Uh-huh.
After I finished I've still got 10 episodes each of The Flash and Arrow.
Right.
Which in hindsight, I'm like, I chose to watch, I chose to stop watching the CW shows on TV because I don't have cable.
Mm-hmm.
But those were my Netflix superhero shows.
Oh, the
Like the day Supergirl went on streaming, I started watching Supergirl.
mm-hmm.
This past season
Yeah,
or
yeah,
last season,
yeah.
and Arrow, nothing. I don't think there's much in most of the Marvel shows that's as good as anything that's in Arrow. Even when Arrow is, spinning its own wheels, I still think it's much better, and the action is much better.
You think Arrow's better than Daredevil?
Yeah. Although I
Uh,
haven't seen the last season. Arrow doesn't have Vincent D'Onofrio.
uh-huh.
It doesn't have that kind of villain. But I have problems with Arrow, but most of the problems with Arrow, like the big one being how in the storylines life is presented as so cheap.
Mm.
How the heroes are always like, we don't kill bad guys because we're better than them, even though that guy just killed like a bunch of extras,
Yeah.
a bunch of extras who are playing cops or whatever, or security guards just get killed every single episode.
Mm.
The same thing happens in Daredevil, where he's like, "Oh, Bullseye killed 800 people in this season, but I'm just gonna beat you up. I'm not gonna kill you." I mean, again, not having seen season three,
You have to see it. It's weighted. It's very weighted with every action that occurs in it. Is very weighted. It's not just like, oh, somebody dies for no reason. It's I think it's weighted. Um, I don't know. I think Daredevil is a much better show than Arrow. There was a couple of seasons of Arrow that I did not like.
yeah, four wasn't that
Yeah,
good.
season 4 was, yeah. I mean, I'm loving this current season. It's they finally get to do their Supermax story that David Goyer wanted to tell for years. Um, but obviously it's not the same that David Goyer wrote. But they've been wanting to, that was the big It script, the whole
Oh yeah, it was
Supermax.
like Green Arrow in like Arkham Asylum or something, right?
Yeah, well, it was a. I don't think it was Arkham, but it was a prison. It was a Supermax prison with him being framed for murder and him sorting. And it was like, I think it was multiple levels and him trying to get to top level to get out, to escape, to prove his innocence. Um, uh,
Okay, so I haven't watched the season yet. I'm still watching last season
mhm.
because I'm a season behind because I watch them on Netflix, which is a price that I have to pay, but it's a price that I will willingly pay to not have to watch commercials.
Yeah, yeah, and you get to
But
binge the whole season, so yeah.
but I do know, just from writing at Screen Rant, some mild spoilers kind of just always pop up, and
Yeah.
I try to ignore them. But I have a question:
Mm-hmm.
Is Felicity dead?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be a plot line.
No, no.
And I was like, yes, please do it because I don't like the
Wait.
shippers.
Okay. No.
Or is it like a future plot line?
Yes.
Because I know that they've got like stuff in the
Yeah.
future with
Okay.
like
Yeah.
maybe different timelines.
All right. So in the future plot line, she's dead, not
Okay.
in the current.
Oh,
Yeah. So
shoot.
because that's
I
what I
mean, because
was.
I like her, and
Uh-huh.
I even like her character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how prominent she is compared to almost anybody else in the show.
It's funny, right? I think that was like a accident on CW's part. They wanted the whole ultimate love story to be between Ollie and uh, um, Dinah.
Laurel.
Well, Laurel Dinah, but they wanted that Laurel Dinah Lance.
Yeah, I'm
They
Team Laurel.
Yeah, they wanted that for a long time, but when they introduced Felicity, in that same season as well, the first season, the kind of chemistry that they had, people were drawn to that more, and it was like, oh shit, man, we're trying to force this Laurel thing. It's just not happening, boys. I guess we just gotta give in. Shit. So they just went with Olicity. Olicity. They just went with that instead and saying, you know what, we give up. The fans want Olicity. Let's just give them Olicity. Screw it. Even when they brought in the real Dinah with the cop,
Yeah, I don't
Um,
think anyone ever saw her as a potential romantic interest for Ollie.
yeah, we maybe they were like, could that be? But then she started a whole thing with Diggle, with I think they dropped.
Yeah, and then Vigilante turned out to be her
Yeah,
ex.
I think they were gonna do something with the Diggle thing and her, but I thought,
He's
break,
committed.
breaking up a marriage like that, it'll be too ugly. We don't want to soil our characters like that. It'll be too ugly. Let's back off of that. Let's slow our roll on that one. But yeah, I'm enjoying this season of Arrow. But it's to me, I think Daredevil is the better show. Especially with I mean, I loved season 2 better than season 1 and 3. But 3, it was such a 3 is like Iron Man 3, where it brought it back to basics. You know, they try to bring it back to the cave, as what they Kevin Feige kept saying about Iron Man 3.
Right.
This did definitely bring it full circle, brought it back to season 1 with the whole black suit and everything. Um,
Ah,
but what I will say this though, I'm sad that it got canceled, but here's why I'm happy. It didn't end with a huge cliffhanger. If they said from the get go we're doing only one more season, and it the way how this season ended, I would believe them, because it kind of,
it feels like a trilogy.
it feels it's done. Even though they had like one little setup at the end where, but it's just more like you know where this is gonna go. It's kind of like if Batman Begins didn't have the Dark Knight, and you
Uh-huh.
saw at the end with the whole Joker thing, you get it. Or he fights Joker. You know, you don't have to see it, but it's like you get it. So it has like a similar setup where you get it. You don't have to see it, but you get it. Um, so I'm pretty happy about that. Where on the opposite end with Iron Fist, they kind of set up a whole bunch of shit that was pretty much awesome that won't get resolved. Even where Luke Cage ended, it was like, wow, they have a cool setup. Not as cliffhangery as Iron Fist, because even though there where Luke Cage season 2 ended was like, holy shit, wonder how it's going to affect going forward. That could almost be a satisfying ending too. If you look at it from a certain point of view, you'd be like, okay, that's an ending for him. You know, you probably wanted to see where it goes from there, but you can use your imagination. Now, before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to ask you, because we thought the same thing when Iron Fist got canceled, when Luke Cage got canceled. Maybe it's going to Disney Plus, or we were calling it Disney Play at the time, but it's going to Disney streaming service. Do we think these shows are going to go to the Disney streaming service? Will Daredevil live on, or it's done?
I think now is the time. The next couple of years, we're gonna see if they bring back hashtag It's all connected.
Right.
They had that for a little while until everyone was like, actually, no, it's not, because you're never gonna have any of these crossovers that we want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The most that we're ever gonna get is Sif,
Right.
and I like Sif.
Well, we did get Nick Fury for 2 episodes.
True,
Yeah.
true. But even that, like we said last time, it's like movies, then the ABC shows, then in like a box in the basement
Yeah.
is the Netflix shows.
Yeah.
Um, but like they have these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's up to Marvel to decide whether they're going to either reboot them,
Mm-hmm.
or if they're actually going to live up to the promise of the very premise of the MCU and have these characters show up again. We, in the back of our minds, have faith that at some point, the MCU will do a story about the Mandarin
Right.
because they set it up in Long Live the King, Hail to the King, All
Yeah.
Hail the King, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Even though I like Iron Man 3 more than most people do, um, and more than I like most other Marvel movies, uh, when they set something up like that, I go, this is the MCU. where they can set something up and then wait
Mm-hmm.
and until they're ready to dunk it. You know, they're waiting for the oop.
Right. Right.
The alley's up in the air. Um, and you know, we've seen that pan out with some things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like General Ross popping up in Civil War. That was awesome.
Yep.
And the whole like the entire arc of Thanos going from a background Easter egg to the main villain.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it not pan out, like the leader.
Yeah.
Um, you know, if they have so many stories set in New York, why not have Daredevil pop up in one of them? Why not have Iron Fist pop up
Mm-hmm.
somewhere? And everyone will go, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I am the immortal Iron Fist." And then they laugh at him and go eat shawarma. But you know, this is the opportunity to either have these characters pop. You know, maybe they could have a show on Disney Plus, although I don't see that being a priority for them,
Yeah. Yeah.
just because you know they've got like no one knows who Charlie Cox is, that
Right.
actor.
Right. Right.
It's like he's known for being the least attractive superhero. And I like him. I like him as an actor, and I like him in that role. But no one's gonna put him on the cover of uh, Men's Fitness,
Right.
or that doesn't exist anymore. But like Men's Journal, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
GQ.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna put Loki on the cover of GQ.
Right.
Um, and Scarlet Witch. You know, she's comparatively a much lesser star than other MCU actors,
Mm-hmm.
but she's still like way above Kristen Ritter.
Yeah.
Like it's weird that Kristen Ritter is the biggest star of all of the Marvel Netflix
Oh
shows.
yeah.
I feel like it's her and then John Bernthal. They're very close in
Mm.
terms of their star power.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that being a priority for Disney to put into their streaming service. I
Right.
would like that to happen very much, especially if they can team up,
Mm-hmm.
save some money instead of doing an Iron Fist and a Luke Cage show.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
for hire, put them together. And for other ones, especially Daredevil, maybe instead of doing a show, do a movie,
Mm-hmm.
not a theatrical movie. But then again, why not try it, see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That could be a way to give us all these characters back with a bigger budget if they're gonna do a movie because they don't have to spread it, across 10 episodes or 13.
yeah, like we've seen, the MCU movies are, I don't know, I don't think they're in danger because they're doing so well,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that to a degree they can be alienating because of how obtuse they can be.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Strange is psychedelic. Avengers Infinity War is so huge. Thor Ragnarok, even though these movies, with the exception of Doctor Strange, made more than $300 million domestically,
Right.
Thor didn't make as much money as Spider-Man Far From Home, Homecoming,
Yeah.
which I think was just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also did not need, space aliens or ninjas or
Mm-hmm.
dragon bones or anything silly like not silly, that sounds mean, but anything like that. Um, I think that, but all that money goes to Sony. I think Marvel would be smart to have at least one hero who is, maybe isn't an Avenger,
Mm-hmm.
but who has these stories that are much closer to the ground.
Right. Right.
Try it, or at the very least, do original movies on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I almost have a feeling that's the direction they're heading to with the MCU, where they know they don't have enough real estate in the theatrical world to release a bunch of movies. So maybe they'll say, hey, this characters in the MCU as well, but you can watch them on the Disney streaming service. I mean, they're I think the test of that is the Loki series and the Scarlet Witch series and the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. Even though the Loki one is the only one that's confirmed by Bob Iger, but I'm sure the others are also part of it as well. So you have, and it's limited series. It's not gonna go on for seasons. I think the Loki show is 8 episodes. I believe 8 or 6.
Yeah, make them small.
Yeah.
Don't make me watch 13 episodes.
Yeah, just do a one shot, but a bigger one shot. When
Yeah,
they used to do one
I think
shots.
one shot is a great word for it.
Yeah,
Like we had the Marvel one shots that were like really short, that were like 10 minutes long,
yeah,
or even the first one was like 5 minutes or something.
yeah,
But do movies.
yeah. Do one shot movies that may or may not affect the MCU going forward, but it's there. I mean, it's there for you when you want to watch it.
I guess the last point I have is it starts with a question. I had heard this and was like, wow, that's crazy, but it didn't really see any headlines. Is it true that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been renewed for season 7?
It is. Yep.
That's awesome.
It is.
But I didn't think that was going to get renewed for season 2.
That's what I'm saying.
So, you see where I'm going with this.
Where are you going?
Now that all the Marvel Netflix shows are done, have them hang out with Coulson.
Yep.
Season 5 was written to be the last season, and it had an ending that I would have been very disappointed if it was the ending. I was not as hot on season 5 as some people were.
Right.
But season 6 feels like a postscript season, and if it's getting season 7, they have a plan. And I think that plan, even if they're short seasons, especially if they're short seasons, stretch those bucks.
And what's funny? I still, even though it's like a losing battle on my end, I still have not given up on the idea, it's all connected idea, because I want to believe, right, that after the end of Avengers 4, somehow S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back, because you have Nick Fury in Far From Home. Even though you don't see a S.H.I.E.L.D. symbol, but the way how he dresses, the way how Maria Hill dresses, is their S.H.I.E.L.D. costume. Like, I want to believe that somehow S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back, and this show, going forward, will be about what S.H.I.E.L.D. is like post-Avengers 4. Especially with the new season coming out after Avengers 4. That they're playing nice, I guess. I don't know. I'm still an optimistic person, Kevin Feige has always said this, even though he could be just lying out his ass or just giving out a canned answer just to shut everyone up. He's always been asked this question about the TV characters showing up in the movies, and he's never completely said no, even went as far as to say it's inevitable that some characters from the TV show will end up in the movies. I don't know if it's canned answer or just him just saying, just leave me alone. I don't want to give a negative answer to tarnish anything, keep you dreaming.
I think it's definitely that answer. It's definitely I don't want to talk about it. It's not my business because I don't work with Marvel TV.
Right.
Even though we have it in these actors' contracts that if we want them in a movie, they have to be in the movie.
Right.
But the big thing was, movies and TV shows are produced on entirely different timetables. They have more, even though the shows are longer, they have more time with movies.
Yeah.
Of course, that all changes when the shows are canceled.
Yeah.
So there's no, what are we going to do with Iron Fist, in his new season when he doesn't have a new season? I think that Marvel Shield agent Shield season 6 and 7 will be the opportunity to actually connect things.
Yeah.
I think that they should have all of the Defenders in there. Throw in Madame Gao or whoever if they survived the Defenders, which I have issues with that show, but it was a net win.
Yeah,
I liked it enough.
yeah.
But just fix everything that may or may not be broken in the MCU. Just
Hmm.
take every single loose thread and plot hole. Have the big bad be the Mandarin.
Yeah.
Have have the Mandarin and the leader team up. Whatever.
Hmm.
Ghost Rider.
And they did show, we got a little taste of Agents of Shield where Chloe Bennett posted what she looks like as Quake now, and she looks a lot more, I guess, superhero-y, you
Does she
know.
have an actual superhero costume? Because I like superhero costumes, and it's actually the one thing that pisses
Well,
me off the most about the Arrowverse is that
uh,
they don't have cool enough costumes.
well, the costume she wore in the previous seasons matches the costume she had in the comic books, where it's
Uh,
just because she was a Shield agent, you know, so she had
well,
this
it's
thing.
still a shitty costume.
But this one has, you know, I guess a little bit of purple in it. Still have, it's still mainly black, but a little bit of purple. Her gauntlets are a little bit more pronounced in this, and she has blonde hair with purple streaks. So she looks a little bit more superhero slash rocker chick, I guess. Um, but yeah, Shield is still keeping my hope alive that, you know, they haven't truly given up on it's all connected, and especially with them announcing season 7 so far in advance, you know, they could plan with whatever movies to come up next in the MCU, because I'm sure whatever movie is coming out in the next couple of years is in pre-production now. So if this is in pre-production and they're thinking about season 7, which won't show up until 2020, then that gives them time to say, hey, let's work on a plan. I mean, like I said, optimist over here. This is what I am. I can't help it, you know. Uh,
I could also see them renewing the show just so that they can have more stuff to put on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. So then that's the thing, because all seasons of Agents of Shield are on Netflix. Are they gonna take it off Netflix and put it on Disney Plus? You know what I mean?
I would think so,
And
yeah.
then package all your Marvel stuff on Disney Plus. You can watch your MCU movies. You can watch Agents of Shield, and you can
Could
watch.
you imagine, even if I don't know if they'd be able to put the Netflix shows on there or if they will remain on Netflix forever.
Yeah, because I think it's a co-production, isn't it? Netflix.
I think it's a co-production, but I know that like at the beginning of the show, or at the end, it says an ABC
Yeah, it's ABC.
TV production,
Oh,
which is part of why Netflix canceled them because they are obsessed with vertical integration
yeah, and I know,
of
I
yeah.
know, I know Hulu will keep Runaways, because especially with Disney owning 60% of it, I don't think that's in any danger. Runaways
Yeah,
and
and also it's in no danger of being part of the MCU because
yeah,
nobody knows what that
yeah.
is.
God. But yeah, like I said, I'm keeping my hope alive. But then let's segue into more Netflix stuff. Even though it's sad that Daredevil is going, it could be a good news or bad news depending on how you think of adaptations, especially anime adaptations these days. There's a live action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop coming. It's going to be a 10 episode series. I love that anime. For years, Keanu Reeves has been trying to get that movie done, but it's always been a budgetary issue. Like, it's too much money. Now he's a little bit too old to play Spike. But
It can be Jet.
yeah, not in, the body frame. The body mass isn't there. um,
Eh,
you
He
know,
has
you,
it. He has the gravitas.
do you know who especially when he mentioned he wanted to do Spike, the only other character that I ever fan casted in my eyes was Eva Longoria as Faye Valentine, and that's because the way how she Faye Valentine acts in the show kind of reminded me of her Desperate Housewives character, where it's like she's this sort of, she tries to be independent, but she's like bourgeois. You know, I always saw her as, but now she's a little bit too old for that character too. I guess. But Netflix is bringing the show live action. I'm super excited for it. Uh, what do you? They had Death Note, which was terrible. the Death Note movie, terrible. Um, they have a couple of live action anime stuff on there too, but it's were made by Japan. You know, like Attack on Titan. I think they have the live action of on there, and Bleach, live action Bleach, and live action
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist. But that was a Japanese production. It has nothing, I mean, no disrespect to the Japanese filmmakers,
But they're
out
not
there.
Netflix originals.
Yeah,
I think the difference is that the Japanese live action animes work really, really hard to look like animes,
yeah, mm-hmm,
which raises the question of why.
yeah,
And Cowboy Bebop, as an anime, worked really hard to look like a Western sci-fi
yep,
story.
yep,
And I think that gives it a lot of potential,
mm-hmm,
but also a lot of, it's so sacred to so many people. Like, I'm not an anime person, but I've seen every episode of Cowboy Bebop
yep,
in the movie. Um, so, it's very, so much potential for good and so much potential for going bad.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But the worst case scenario is that it's bad and we pretend it never happened and go back to loving the anime forever.
mm-hmm.
I say go for it, try it, see what happens.
So
Maybe it'll be Firefly. That was
what
already a live action
yeah,
adaptation,
yeah,
just
love,
without the rock and roll.
yeah. What would you advise Netflix to do while adapting the show? Do you think they do like hour-long versions of some of the episodes, or should they completely change the story to fit whatever narrative they're trying to fit, just with the characters involved? Like, where do you would you think they should go in that regard?
I think that they should tell original stories while being very faithful as possible to the characters.
Right.
And that's faithful in terms of their personalities and the way they're written. I don't necessarily need Faye Valentine to be dressed like,
Yeah.
uh, her distinct outfit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just say, um, and I don't need Spike to be like an 80-pound little guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whoever the look is not as important as the script,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a sci-fi show. It's space. I hope they are willing to spend the money that's required. I don't want something that looks like that looks like Marvel Netflix.
Yeah, and Netflix. That's a kind of the frustrating thing is like, I guess Netflix chooses what they want to put the production value into.
I hope they put Lost
Yeah.
in Space money into this.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love that show.
Lost in Space looked great
Yeah. Even
and was good.
Stranger, like if you look at Stranger Things 2, that last episode alone, like wow, the production value is there for some of their shows and then just not there for others. It's
The
like,
Defenders.
yeah, right. And
Oh.
like, look at the Altered Carbon, like that looked pretty gorgeous. You know what I mean?
I guess they have to know what they see a return on.
Yeah, yeah.
The best answer would be both,
Mm-hmm.
but they choose to either invest in the production value or in the script.
Mm-hmm.
And while yes, I would prefer them to put money into writing and casting the best people, but I'd like for them to also put money into making it look pretty.
Yeah.
Give me both.
Yeah. I think they'll. This is a reason why I think they'll definitely take care of this property in terms of like giving it the right budget and the right creative team and stuff like that. It's a beloved anime, right? It's a beloved anime, and the way how they showed the trailer, it's like a teaser trailer. It was like an announcement. Guess what, folks? A live action Cowboy Bebop is coming to our platform. It's like they made that huge announcement and they don't want pies in their faces. You know what I mean? Like, if they get this thing wrong, that could potentially sour the relationship between Netflix audiences and Netflix. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, I mean, Cowboy Bebop is mainstream in a way that anime just isn't.
yeah, yeah,
Like when they did live action Dragon Ball for the movies,
mm-hmm.
I was like, don't care, because I didn't care.
Yeah, I didn't
I
either.
had zero interest. Whether it was good or bad, there was almost no way I was going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was apparently bad, there's no way I'm ever going to see it.
Right.
Um, when they did Death Note, which is comparatively not more popular than Dragon Ball, but maybe more popular among a more diverse set of people.
Yeah, yeah.
In that, I mean, not just boys. Sorry, Dragon Ball, but girls don't want you, except for the girls who do. I was just making a joke. Um, but also, no, I would no Dragon Ball. Who would recommend Dragon Ball to like an adult girl? Who would go to their girlfriend and go, "Hey, you want to watch Dragon?" Even if they like
Yeah.
anime, who would go? Do you want to watch Dragon Ball?
I think the girls who are fans of Dragon Balls are girls who found the anime themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I
Yeah.
really don't know
Yeah.
much about. Does the Dragon Ball fandom have? Is it mixed or is it all boys?
No, it's mixed. It's mixed. You can tell it's mixed based. Well, actually, I wouldn't use this as a surefire.
We're going into murky territory here.
Yeah,
We're gonna
it's
get in
the whole cosplay community. You know, you have a lot of girls dressing as, like I guess Android 18, I think is the character. I don't watch the show, so I couldn't tell you some of the names. But you have girls. I've seen girls, especially I follow them in the cosplay community. Some of the cosplay community, I see them dressed as um, uh, either gender bent versions of a character,
I do
or
love gender bent cosplay.
or
I do.
or or the actual female character that's in the show. Like I said, I don't watch it. I don't think I'll ever watch any. There's like 1,000 episodes. I can't do it to myself. But
I mean, yeah, I guess the impression that I get from Dragon Ball is that it's a kids show.
it
I don't
is.
know if that's
It's like
accurate.
it's a kid show. It fell in the line of like your Pokemon, your
Yeah, I guess, but
Yu-Gi-Oh,
but
your
I would
Digimon.
make I could get people to watch Pokemon though. Really,
Eh,
it's cute.
it's yeah. But as an
At
adult,
least like a
it'll be
couple
hard
of
to,
episodes.
yeah,
I
it'll
feel
be,
like if you see like the first 2 or 3 episodes of the anime, which are on
yeah,
Netflix,
yeah,
then it's like you've seen it.
yeah.
Boom.
Like I feel like if you're already an adult, it's harder for you to get into it, and if you are someone who's not interested in anime, but you want to show them some anime be pretty cool or right up their alley, that's not a way to go. You
Right.
know. Uh,
Right. But you would show them Cowboy Bebop.
yes, because Cowboy Bebop, like, if you watch it, it doesn't play like an anime.
It doesn't. It plays
Yeah.
like a movie.
Yeah, you know, even
And
the motion and everything, is very sort of. It's almost like it was a Ralph Baskin, rotoscoping. Even though I'm sure it's all animated, but it felt really rotoscopy in certain
yeah,
sections.
and I think a big part of the appeal is and of how Western it
Mm-hmm.
is how strongly it uses music.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that something that a live action version could do that the anime didn't is yeah, I think it should still invest heavily in an original score, but it could also, spend that Netflix money,
Mm-hmm.
license some music,
Yeah.
have that be an integral part of the series.
And and
Um,
and although this means almost nothing these days, um, but they do have Shinjiro Watanabe as a consultant, whatever that means. Maybe him being a consultant will help the show. Even though I find that a lot of these Japanese creators are not as protective of their.
They're not as protective as the fans are.
Yeah, like
They're like, just, like I already did it. You do your thing.
yeah, they always say, yeah, it was the guy who did a Ghost in the Shell. He didn't care. He was like, yo, that's pretty good. I liked it, even though it was crap. Um,
Yeah, or even Death Note, which we were talking about. You know how Death Note is much more mainstream than some anime, but
mm,
not as mainstream as
yeah,
Cowboy Bebop.
yeah.
But maybe it did well viewing wise for Netflix. I would not be
Well,
surprised
they are
if its
making two.
success contributed to why they're doing Cowboy Bebop.
And I think they're making a Death Note too, if I'm not wrong. They announced one, like maybe like a couple of weeks or a month after Death Note dropped, that they're doing
And
two.
maybe it'll be like an Iron Fist season 2 situation where people actually like it, even if no one watches it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's worth it to have it out there if it's going to be better than the first one.
yeah.
But that movie, was rightfully lambasted for its whitewashed casting.
Hmm.
But the most of the people who got upset about it were American.
Yeah.
Like, even I think the creator in Japan was like, "Don't care.
Hmm.
It's a Western version, so
and
it should get Western actors."
and I think that's another
But
thing.
Western being slang for white, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. Cowboy Bebop can escape, as well as the whole idea of whitewashing, because I think Spike is supposed to be Caucasian, isn't he? Or is he Asian? I don't know.
I think he's supposed to be some kind of. I heard somewhere that he's supposed to be like that. He might be Israeli, but I think that's just because he has a perm.
Yeah, like he's Spike
I hope he doesn't
Spiegel.
have a perm.
Even Jet is not. Jet is not Asian. A typical Asian character. Faye Valentine is definitely not. I think she's from. If that episode that talked about her past, she wasn't from Japan, right? It was a.
I remember that episode, but it's funny. She's the only person. She's the only one in the cast who I thought was Asian.
Right. I think I gotta rewatch it. It's been a while. I have the set right over there.
Yeah, I think I've got my set right around here too,
Yeah.
somewhere.
I'm gonna watch, and it's on Hulu, so I don't have to take my Blu-ray
I
out.
definitely will be watching it again real soon.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't have they don't have to be accused of whitewashing if they have like an American lead, because like I said, Spike Spiegel doesn't even sound Asian. If you know, it's the same thing with Alita, where Alita is definitely the original story it takes place in America, but the the movie actually is in Central America, but it was never a Japanese story really. So yeah, I think they can pull it off. It's easier than the Death Note or Attack on Titan, which Legendary is doing. No, they're doing My Hero Academia. Who's doing Attack on Titan?
I
Fox, I think. One of them, some guys. No, that's not Fox, because that would be Disney. But whoever, they announced a live action Attack on Titan and a live action My Hero Academia. Yeah, so they can do it. I think they can pull it off.
Yeah, I'm in. I mean, again, worst case scenario, we pretend it never happened.
Yeah,
we all just get together and agree this never happened.
Just give me the four main cast. Maybe would they have the dog? I don't know, because pets.
Oh, I
and
hope
shows.
so. The dog's the best.
Yeah.
Ein.
Yeah. And I need Vicious. I need Vicious.
Yeah, get Keanu Reeves to play Vicious. Or Ein. Dual role.
That'll work.
Motion capture his face and put it on Ein. Directed by Andy Serkis.
All right, let's move on to our last topic. We're gonna move on to some game news and wrap up the show. All right, so the only news item for games I have is so David Jaffe. He's the creative director on the first two God of War video games, and he worked on a bunch of Twisted Metal.
No, this is the first God of War. Wasn't Cory Barlog?
I think he was still involved. I know he was still involved with 2.
Jaffe like produced too.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
he was like hands off, but
yeah,
still
yeah. I think
had
it
his
was.
name on
I
it.
know 3. He definitely wasn't a part
Right.
of.
Then Corey was the boss of 2
Yeah.
and started out as the boss of 3, but then left
Uh huh.
and was Stig. Stig was on 3.
Right.
And then of course Corey came back for Ghost of Sparta and then the new one,
Yeah. So,
which I just got because it was on sale, but I
oh,
haven't played it yet.
I have it. I just haven't finished it. I need to go back. I'm actually gonna start it over. But I have one thing I've always noticed about David Jaffe. He doesn't hold anything back. He's like every interview he's done. He's like either he's cursing like a sailor.
He's so sassy.
He's whatever ideas you have about the video game industry. He has a completely different one. Um, Going into it, and rightly so. I mean, he's part of it, so you kind of take his word for what it is because he's been in it for so long. I remember an interview he did with Olivia Munn. They were going back and forth. They were going at it. I actually, and I saw Olivia Munn at a comic book store. I almost wanted to say to her, "Is like, oh, did you and David make up?" But I was like, let me not say anything. Um, but he has his own streaming Twitch channel, and one of the streams he did, he pretty much came out and said the AAA games are dying, and within the next 4 or 5 years they'll be dead because of how repetitive they are. And I had to think about what he meant by that, because if I'm looking at the games that I've played over the years, the AAA games, even though some game mechanics might be the same, I've always had different experiences with them. Like I don't have the same experience playing a God of War that playing a Spider-Man or playing any of the Uncharted games, or even if you look at Uncharted and the recent Tomb Raider games, even though they really go similar in terms of the way how they tell their stories, how cinematic they are, it feels different playing Tomb Raider than it does playing Uncharted. You know, Uncharted really gives you that popcorn experience, while I think Tomb Raider really sells the exploration stuff more. But I mean, I could see where he's coming from, because the way when he did a stream, he did like he had the 2 videos of Uncharted. I want to say Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 4 up, and he was just showing the gameplay of both of them, and they're pretty much the same, just with better graphics. And if you want to go that simplistic with the argument, then I could say yes, they look repetitive, but I think it's a
The
lot more.
sequel looks like the game that it's a sequel to.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. You know, one, yes, it might be repetitive, but if you've been playing the games for like, I'm 37 right now, right?
Damn, you old.
Yeah. And I've played all I've been playing games since original NES. I've had all 4 PlayStations. And if you go and then let's bring it back to Uncharted. If you're going with Uncharted, I played Uncharted since it came out in 2013. No, no.
The first
No,
Uncharted,
no, sorry,
2007.
it's 2000. What am I saying? 2007.
It's the Alzheimer's.
Yeah. uh, but then so yes. So you playing Uncharted to now. Yes, there's the same game, just with better graphics, and maybe have a little addition. But sometimes that's what you want, right? It's just you have a game that you love, you want more of it. Just give me a little bit of different story. Give me a different story. Give me the same characters in a different setting, and that's all I need. You know what I mean? And then, so that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that you have people who their first console is the PlayStation 4. You know what I mean? So their first experience with Uncharted might be Uncharted 4, even though they might get the Drake collection or whatever. But it's possible that Uncharted 4 is their first experience in the Uncharted world. And you're going to continue to have that The new generation is going to be a first console for that generation going forward. So you can't spell the death of AAA gaming because of repetitiveness if another generation could possibly be their first entry into that game that you deem repetitive. I mean, what do you think of his word? Do you really think AAA? Because they've been saying AAA games are dying for a long time, especially with multiplayer games becoming a big thing. They've been calling the death of AAA games, and all the Sony first party games have been like selling like hotcakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird. I can understand a creative like David Jaffe saying that because I'm sure he's pitched so many AAA games that have been rejected.
Right.
Because anyone who's made as many successful games as he has made surely has 10 times that many ideas in their head that have never been able to come out.
Right.
I'm sure he Drawn to Death started out as something completely different than what it wound up as. And I think that there could have been a lot of potential for Drawn to Death as like a AAA single player story because its art style was so magnificent that I feel like it was wasted as like an arena shooter. Yeah, that game came and went, disappeared real quick. That was very sad. But I played it for like 2 days. It was just like, nope, don't care. Seeing everything I need to see. But I think that if you look at his own game, God of War, his criticism is that these games are the same. Look at God of War, and yeah, God of War 2 and 3 and Ascension and the PSP games are very iterative, is the nice way of saying it, in that they're all based on the same core gameplay.
Right.
But look at God of War from this year.
Yeah.
It rewrites everything. It's a whole new beast. Spider-Man is iterative on Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But it's done so differently that it's a whole other beast.
Yeah.
It's like comparing Uncharted to The Last of Us. They have the same graphics engine.
Yeah.
And there's a degree of iteration there, but it's a whole other thing. Maybe that's not exactly what he means. I haven't seen the stream, but the way you say that he shows Uncharted 3 and 4 and says that this is an example of the problem feels like he's not correct. I think that if he had shown Battlefield and Call of Duty, I would have agreed with him. Because it was definitely a problem when every game was trying to have the same controls as Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And people were shouting from the rooftops. They were going, yes, this is great. I want every single game to have square to reload, R2 to shoot, X to jump, etc. And then Red Dead 2 comes along and people get mad because it gives you more control.
Yeah.
It makes it harder to control, but you have more control. Like I can see and agree with both sides of the Red Dead 2 argument, but I think that the movement's a little too heavy. Should be a little lighter. Arthur Morgan should be a little lighter on his feet than he is in that game. But standardized controls are a way of stifling creativity. If you want your game to play a certain way, make it play that way. And yeah, I know that. I mean, I don't know anything, but I have to imagine that executives and producers are there going, no, make it more like this. Make it play more like that game. Make it play more like this game. Gamers are too dumb to understand how this works, so make it easier. And it's a battle that creatives need to fight to make sure that their game has its own identity. So I don't think AAA games are dying. I think that big publishers want them to die.
Right.
I think it's easier to monetize $2 microtransactions for people with gambling addiction than it is a $60 investment for someone who wants to pick up a piece of art.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that creatives need to keep on fighting the fight, and I think that it's a fight that they can win. I think that a lot of people who play Rainbow Six Siege and a lot of people who play Call of Duty, and I'm not picking on any of these games, I haven't played all of them, but I understand them.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people who play these games, it's often the only game they play for the year.
Right.
There are people who have a PS4 who've never bought a game on it because they play Fortnite.
Yeah.
There are people who bought a PS4 who only play Overwatch,
Yeah.
and they've spent $500 on loot boxes, but they don't buy any other games.
Mm-hmm.
There are people whose entire game collection is Call of Duty, and they buy Call of Duty every single year, but they don't consider themselves gamers, even if they play more than I do,
Yeah.
because that's the only game they play.
Yeah.
They go, no, I just play this one game. Maybe they play it with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some of their friends are core gamers who play, core gamers.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that term, but it describes me, it describes you. We're core gamers.
Right.
Um, they play, we play everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we like games that are different, but we also like to play games that we know. I'm playing Red Dead 2, which is a sequel. The last game that I reviewed for Screen Rant was the Spyro Reignited trilogy, which is fantastic, and it's iterative on the games it's remaking. It blows my mind even still to say this, but I like it better than the originals.
Wow.
Um, yeah, Crash Remastered, on the other hand, the original is superior to the remake, but that's not important right now. AAA games aren't dying; they're under fire. People are trying to kill them in the name of profits.
Mm-hmm.
They killed Star Wars. They killed Amy Hennig's Star Wars.
Yeah.
They ruined Mafia 3. But they're not dead.
Yeah.
They're not dying. They are merely
Yeah.
under siege.
I think mainly it's the first party studios and the studios. You notice it's the first party studios and the studios that don't really cater to sort of the investors. Like you have like a CD Projekt Red and you have Rockstar. They don't care really. Like they come out with the game comes out when it's ready, and and that game will last for like 7 years without having to come out with a new one. Them and the first party are the ones that really are keeping the third party games alive, and a lot of third party studios are really killing that first party that AAA experience, but it's shown so far. Like I said, the generation after the next generations, they're going to be experiencing these AAA games for the first time, whether it's part 4 or 5 of a franchise, or if it's a brand new IP. It's going to be their first experience, and they're going to just love it and stuff like that. Before we wrap up, it's just crazy how both David Jaffe and Cliff Bleszinski are kind of like disenchanted with the whole gaming experience. Those two being sort of like the rock star, more so Cliff, with his Ferraris and having a chainsaw gun at a press conference.
Yeah, I mean, Jaffe is definitely the eccentric creative.
Yeah, but
the one who wants, who, and I'm not making fun of him for this, and I agree with him that he wants Sony or whoever to give him $80 million and leave him the hell alone for 2 years or 3 years, however long it takes. See, that's how little I know about game development. I said 2 years, and I'm sure someone watching this is like, "Hi, what are you, some kind of asshole?" And it's like, yes, I don't know.
Yeah. Shit, that's what they're giving Hideo, but that's Hideo.
Yeah. And he's like, and he sees Death Stranding, and he goes, "It works."
Yeah.
He sees Metal Gear Solid, and he goes, "It works. That's how you do it."
Yeah.
That's what George Lucas always said. Give a filmmaker $150 million, then leave him alone.
Even though it didn't work out too well for George. But that's another story.
Well, it worked out financially.
Yeah, it does.
Love him or hate him, those Star Wars prequels raked in a ton of money.
Yeah, it did. But I don't think I think it's a little bit of a hyperbole on his part, but who knows? Maybe in 10 years he's probably right. I don't think in 4 or 5 years. It's too many games coming out within the next 4 or 5 years to really call that a death nail on that. But
yeah, I mean, if AAA games go, then I'm gone.
Yeah.
You know, I play AAA
Yeah, I'm
games.
not too much in. Even though I love Overwatch, I do love that game, but I'm not into Fortnite. So I haven't played a Call of Duty since Infinite Warfare. So
You know, if Uncharted became an indie, I would still play it, but it would be different. You
yeah,
know, it wouldn't have those production values that make it so cinematic.
yeah. And as long as Naughty Dog exists, as long as Rockstar exists, as long as CD Projekt Red exists, they're not gonna all of a sudden just make multiplayer games. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the worst case scenario is that the big AAAs will be console exclusive.
Yeah,
Because, like you were saying, so many of these games exist to please the shareholders.
yeah,
Uncharted doesn't exist for the shareholders.
yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 4, which was an exclusive, didn't exist for the shareholders. They existed to get people to buy
But
game
yeah, yeah.
consoles.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. Spider-Man is selling like gangbusters at Black Friday.
Yep.
Um, God of War. You know, this generation, I think this generation, Xbox notwithstanding,
Mm-hmm.
just on PlayStation and Nintendo, might have been like the best generation for console exclusives.
Yep.
At
Yep.
least since the days of like the SNES, where there, you know, it was just a completely other beast.
Yeah.
But so many, you know, the best games this generation have been exclusive,
Mm-hmm.
which has not been great for Xbox,
Yeah. But I
except
think
for Quantum Break.
But I think they're definitely prepared for next generation though, with all the studios they acquire. I think they're really gonna compete. I'm excited for
They better.
that. It'll be a waste to get all them damn studios and do nothing with them at all.
Yeah, I hate it when one side wins the console war.
Yeah,
Give
like
me, give me a real war.
yeah. Now I might really have a reason to buy an Xbox. Even though no, because their games are available for Windows as well. So
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
yeah,
Depends on how much money I have.
yeah. All right, so that brings us to the end of the show. Just comment below, guys, what you thought of all the topics we talked about today. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell.
Ring the bell.
And you can hit me up on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Marketunja. Where are you at?
I'm at my name, Zach Wojner.
And of course, well, actually, no. Take that back. On Instagram, I changed it to Pop Culture Galaxy. I did recently do
Ooh,
that. So
I didn't even know you could do that.
yeah, you can change your Instagram thing. So it's at Pop Culture Galaxy, and again, hit the subscribe button. We are on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Pop Culture Galaxy, and hit up the website. That's popculturegalaxy.com. So until next time, folks, I want to say peace.
Indeed.